Hi. So today we're going to make a quick toy car. Growing up, I had a couple of these things. It was a pretty basic shape with a 1/4 inch dowel axle type of thing with the wheels glued on. And I think with the CNC we can do much nicer. Yeah, for instance, it looks like somebody used a 1/2 inch drill bit to just drill what looked like porthole windows in the side of this car. It was cute and clever, but I think we can do much better. So we're going to cheat a bit, and we're going to use something from the design elements, and we can just import a car shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut out multiple copies and layer them together, and we're going to index off a particular pin. And that way we can make sure that all the layers of the car are properly lined up and that there isn't any sort of weird overlap. So let's start with this shape, and let's zoom in here a little bit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group them before I lose my chance, and I'm going to scale it up slightly, 6 inches. Let's go to a full 8 inches. There we go. All right, and let's put this right about here. It's good. All right, so again, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a bunch of different layers, and we're going to index off a particular pin location so we can put a dowel through these things. We need to draw everything on this shape just once, and then we can split it up, and I'll show you how to do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create an axle hole, and it doesn't matter, let's just start at anything, and we should go the entire diameter of the hole here should be just a hair over 1/8 of an inch. That's what I've used. So let's say 0.064. I think that should get us in the butter zone. The goal is I'm trying to minimize what bits I'm going to use or what I'm going to change from, and I'm hoping to use a 1/8 inch down cut or up cut, doesn't really matter to me, carbide bit here. So I want that right in the middle, and I'm going to duplicate this, and I want that right in the middle of this one. All right, so there's our axle holes. We also need an indexing pin, and what I mean for this is, let me draw it and then I can try and explain it first. So the total radius here should be 0.25. So let's do about 1/4 of an inch. It's actually pretty big. That should do it for us. Now, you could honestly go and add whatever design elements you wanted, but effectively we're looking at the interior of the car. And so let's kind of keep this simple for now. So once again, let's add them all together and group them up. And so let's say this is, if you're looking at it from the top down and the front of the car is pointed away from you and the back of the car is what you're facing, this would be what I would say is the right hand side of the car. So let's duplicate this and let's bring it up here, and let's make sure it's all grouped before I forget, and then we'll take this entire group and let's flip it, and this would be the left hand side. So let's make one more copy, and that will be these are sort of the 2 pieces of bread in our sandwich. Let's make one more copy of this. Copy. And now let's bring it down here. This one, it doesn't really matter which way it's going because we're going to alter it, but let's group it and then flip it. Okay, cool. So we're going to chop this one up a little bit because we don't need all these details. So let's get you back to origin. There we go. So the first thing I want to do is let's break this one apart for now. Let's try not to move anything that we don't have to, but I don't need either one of these tires or wheels, right? Yoink. And I don't need these hubcaps. Yoink. And now what I want to do, because again this is the middle chunk, is this is the chunk that the axle is going to run through and actually support the car and the wheels. So what I need to do is, let's zoom in a bit here. I'm going to connect this because I need this to be a solid piece. And I'm just drawing a quick arbitrary shape around the wheel well here because it doesn't really matter. And I just want to make sure the node, this object is closed, and so we'll grab this, and we're going to say union. And this will slowly look like James Bond's underwater submarine car thing. So I can go over here, and we'll do the same thing again. Node, some arbitrary shape that's safely around the wheel. That's what we're shooting for. It's probably fine. Grab this, let's join them together. Boink. Perfect. And if we cut it like this, it would be fine, but the windows would run like tubes all the way through the car. And you could honestly have as many of these middle layers as you wanted. The way it's laid out now, maybe the car is a little narrow for how long it is. But let's just keep going here for a sec. The other thing that I did is I emptied out or hollowed out the middle of it, like this. And that way I can take this piece and say join. This piece and this piece and say join. Now let's select all of these three things and we'll say group. All right, there we go. So now if we have done this right, flip this back around, you can start to see how this would look, where we took one shape and we sort of overlaid it here, but the axle will have enough wood on either side. You could probably make the axle hole 1/4 inch in this case, but let's put that back, perfect. So let's grab these wheels. We could probably leave them where they are, but I like to cut them off to the side. So we'll break this thing up for 1 sec. And I want to grab, really want to grab these, yep, and these, and move them off to the side for now. And I'm going to join them up. And then I'm going to take this guy and group it back up. And then we can take this guy, break it apart. And to be honest, I don't really need this guy's wheels at all. There we go. I just want to make sure that these things are grouped. It's grouped. All right, cool. Now we can take our wheels. Let's zoom out and move it over here real quick. Let's break these up. So in most parts of the world, most cars have 4 wheels. Unless you're talking about a Reliant Robin or some other wacky thing. And let's group these things together. Now you pretty much have a car and we're ready to cut. You could probably snug these up a little bit better just to conserve on your stock, but that should get you what you need. And so the real trick here is if we go into toolpath. I don't need this thing for now. What we need to do here is each one of the wheels, if you want this to be the inside or outside, it's up to you to make your hubcaps, or if you want to cut this thing all the way through. I'm not doing any sort of two-sided milling procedure or anything here. This is very, very basic. I also used, I should probably set up my stock properly. Yeah, I used about 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood because, again, it's just sort of what I had. I like a retract height of about 30 millimeters. I'll say okay. So let's talk about the tool paths now. Now, if you do the middle one, and instead of trying to cut out something with tabs here, what I've found is if I do this, sometimes it's hard to grab these smaller elements. all these things, and this, and this, and this, and this. And we're going to make the axles go all the way through, just for ease of use for now. And there, again, I'll show you what worked for me, and there's probably better ways to do it. I have a router table at my disposal as well to do some cleanup after the fact, but so what I did is I said, let's use an 1/8 inch bit. Let's stay on the inside for all of these things that we just laid out. Actually, I do a pocket operation and go all the way to the bottom. And so now, if you think about it, the windows, you'll have these B pillars on the outside edges, and in the middle it will be open. So what's kind of neat is if you do multiples of these middle layers, you can actually squeak in a Lego guy. I've been thinking about adding in some other paths in here to actually make a door that opens and closes. Maybe it closes with a rare earth magnet or something. We'll use a tiny little like jewelry box hinge in here. Now is the time if you wanted to add like a hood scoop or a spoiler or something. You could do whatever you want. And so let's say these are windows and locator pins. You can name it whatever you want. This just helps me understand what I'm looking at. If you hover over, you can see all the blackness here. So these are going to cut all the way to the bottom. Now, let's add another tool path, and let's do these guys, the outside locator pins. And so what I don't want is I don't want the locator pins visible from the exterior of the car. And we know that we're working with about 3/4 inch stock. The middle is 3/4 inch. And so what we can use is about a 1/2 or 1 inch long dowel to go through from the outside to about the middle of the middle, and then from the outside here to about the middle of this one. And so let's do another contour, and we're going to say 1/8 inch bit is fine. We're going to do a pocket operation, but the max depth here is, let's do 0.5. We should name this thing. Exterior locator pins. Boom. Cool. So if we just quickly look at the simulation of just the top and the middle here, just worry about this. Ooh, there we go. We rotate. Yeah, it's tough to see with this kind of material, but the inner one should be all the way through, but these guys on the outside, they should be about halfway down. And that's what we're looking for, because that will hide the pins when you look at the car from the outside. Just make sure this is correct. Use stock bottom. That's fine. Okay. And then it's up to you really how much detail you want to put into these wheels. Like what I had done is I actually had a tool change, and I used a V-bit to carve what were hubcaps, and you can see the center cap because the axle goes all the way through. The other trick that I used is I took big construction nails and cut the tip and the head off of them, and instead of trying to use any sort of wood dowel or whatever that would ultimately swell and just lock the axle up, I JB welded the wheels to the actual axle for the car, and so that's what worked great for me. And then we could just cut it out, slap it all together, use the locator pins and some dowels to center every part of the car around these locator pins, and you're good to go. You can do this with pretty much any of the shapes. I think the pickup truck is an interesting one. Again, like we could go back in to the design aspect here and go and like create something like this. And just close it off, and then we could say, let's tweak this, and maybe we want to make this go like that, and ooh. Good enough. And then maybe we could just like grab this guy and say join. Yeah, now we have a hood scoop. We kind of lost all the window detail with that one, but you get the point. We could add on whatever we needed to as we saw fit to make the car cooler and cooler. Anyway, I hope that helps somebody and they enjoyed it, and I'll add a picture at the tail end here of the car that I created.